Hello. Hello.
Morning.
Good morning. All right, so we're scheduled for trial today. Everybody ready?
No, Your Honor, we're not ready. My client does not want me as his attorney anymore. And the feeling is mutual. And feel like our conversation, a breakdown in our conversation, that
Well, this case has been going on
Mhm.
since October 2025. So if there was going to be a breakdown in communication, it should occur before then. So y'all
it did, Your Honor. We thought I could salvage it because I think the court would have maybe encouraged us to see if the relationship can go any further. Um, uh,
all right, so which case are y'all going to trial on first? Okay. 5412. All righty, Norma, have a jury come up here by 1:30.
My client also, you have something to say, right?
I wanted to thank the prosecutor. They had a reasonable offer.
No. Here's the thing. I'm not allowed to hear about your negotiations.
Mhm.
What's going to end up happening is we're going to be back at 1:30 for a jury trial.
Well, I was asking for a bench.
That's another thing. My client did inform me yesterday that he liked a bench trial and,
Well, you can discuss it with your attorney and see if what she thinks on that. If everybody agrees to a bench trial, then we can have a bench trial.
I've discussed it with him and, he has made that decision yesterday and today.
All right, then you all will need to fill out the request for the bench trial. State, do you have any objections to a bench trial? All right, so Norma, if you can get the paperwork for them for a bench trial.
Bench trial?
Yes. And State, do you have any witnesses for today? All right, then we'll start tomorrow. But give him the information for the bench trial.
Your Honor, just so I'm assuming you're not going to let me off the case. And at 10:30, I do have a parole hearing that I'm scheduled to do. It should just be an hour.
Okay.
If the court could work with my schedule, I'd greatly appreciate it. It's just hard to reset
Oh,
parole
no, I used to do
cases.
parole here.
Yeah,
I
it's
understand.
like an act of God to
Okay.
do that.
All right, if you'll go over the bench trial information with him.
Okay.
There were just discrepancies.
Here's the thing, whatever discrepancies you're saying that are with the state's case, that's something that's handled on cross-examination of witnesses. Okay.
That's because my attorney's saying that it's okay.
No. Here's the thing.
I'm having a hard time
No,
understanding.
no.
And I'm.
So let me just explain this to you, and I want you to internalize what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been a defense attorney. I've been a prosecutor. And what I've learned is, have you ever heard of the saying where people say a little bit of knowledge is very dangerous? Have you ever heard that saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I've come to learn based upon my experience on the planet. I now know what they mean by that, right? And in your case, or maybe not, this is what it means. Have you ever read the Bible before?
I've been reading it every day.
All right, here's the perfect example. Someone will read the Bible and they'll read Genesis. Me, when I would read the Bible, and I still do, I would tend to get bogged down because I'm always looking for the quiz because professors and teachers would always give you a quiz about the minute stuff. So in Genesis, when they're doing the begets, so-and-so beget this person, in my mind, I'm trying to memorize it, right? And so I've read through Genesis. And then when people read Genesis and they're like, I know Genesis, and they start quoting passages, but there are other books in the Bible that are connected to Genesis that people don't realize where this picks up. It's sort of like when people say revenge is mine and they put a period after that. And it's like, no, revenge is mine, saith the Lord. So it's the same thing with the law. This is our book that we have to know. And we have to know case law too. You will have some people, and I think your attorney will tell you this, they'll read something and it sounds great for their case. And they're like, here we go. This is great for my case. And then the attorney tries to explain to them either that doesn't apply to you, or either there's another section that's attached to that section that is not good for you. So what I can tell you is, I believe your attorney has read this book, because we've all read this book. I believe your attorney has read case law. You know why? Because we've all had to read the case law. So your attorney is an expert for you about the law. And that is the person that you need to ask questions of. Now, during your trial, what would end up happening is the state, they're going to call their witnesses. They're going to question their witnesses. Your counsel will get a chance to cross-examine those witnesses. Since you're coming to me for a bench trial, I will make the determination of whether I think someone is credible or not, whether I think they're telling the truth or not. If you go to a jury trial, the jury will make the decision on whether they believe somebody's telling the truth or not. That's the way it works. So a bench trial before me, I'm considering all of these things. This is what I can tell you about a bench trial with me. If the state proves their case beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm going to find you guilty. If they don't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm going to find you not guilty. And with me, whether or not someone is found guilty or not guilty is based upon the evidence that's presented to me. It's not based upon the charge. Like some people will say, it's a bench trial, it's a murder. I know the state didn't prove their case, but I'm really afraid to do it not guilty. That's not me. I'm just going to listen to the evidence and I'm going to make a decision, guilty or not guilty, based upon what's presented to me. All right?
I'm scared right now. I believe God will make a way though. And I mean, like, I got a lot to lose. And
Okay, let me just tell you something, what I've learned from my time going to church. Sometimes God's answer is yes. Sometimes God's answer is no. I was always taught whatever answer you receive from God is a good answer. And you need to thank him 1,000 times for that answer. So that's where you are. But I will tell you this, you need to look at your case objectively. I would always tell my clients, let's pretend this is not your case. And the reason why I would tell them that is so that they can look at it objectively. So you need to sit with your attorney and look at your case objectively. All right? All right, thank you. They'll get the paperwork for you for a bench trial.
What you just witnessed wasn't just a scheduling adjustment. It was a front row seat to one of the most human moments a courtroom can produce. A case that's been sitting on the docket since October 2025, a defendant who no longer trusts their attorney, and a trial day that took a sharp left turn before it ever really began. But here's what stood out. When the defendant, clearly frightened, clearly overwhelmed, admitted she was scared and leaning on faith to get through it, Judge Boyd didn't just move on. She paused, and she delivered something you don't often hear from the bench. A reminder that objectivity matters, that faith doesn't replace preparation, and that whatever outcome comes, you face it with your eyes open. The Bible analogy wasn't just poetic. It was a direct message to a defendant who believed a little legal knowledge was enough to steer her own ship. Judge Boyd's point was sharp. Partial knowledge is dangerous knowledge. Your attorney has read the whole book. Trust them. With the case now transferred to Judge Nahar or Hollstead for a bench trial, the defendant walks into the next courtroom with something valuable: clarity. She knows how a bench trial works. She knows the standard. She knows the judge will follow the evidence, not the charge. And she knows she needs to look at her own case the way a stranger would. That's not just legal guidance, that's wisdom. If you found this case as eye-opening as we did, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more real courtroom breakdowns. Because justice never gets old.